Coach Kenni Burns. Kent State takes on Ohio University on Wednesday, November 6th at 7 p.m. Coach, if you want to make an opening statement, we can open up for questions.
Yeah. Looking back at last week's game, good. Congratulations to Western Michigan. They came out, they played with great energy, and we couldn't match it, and we started too slow in us to win the game. It really came down to some key errors and mistakes by some of our younger players, honestly. Defense guys just not being in the gap when they're supposed to be. And again, on offense, just execution, between our pass game and throwing the ball down the field. So we got to keep getting better. That's all we know is to get back to work. And the guys got a couple of days off here, and then we'll kick it back off tomorrow and get back to this. Obviously beat up, but nobody cares about that. So we've got to find ways. The guys got to step in and do the job they're asked to do. And the next man up mentality's got to help it happen. With our football team. So no time to be weary and down. All you can do is get better and change your best. And we always talk about being creative and positive in our approach. And talk to our coaching staff about doing that moving forward, and then challenge our players to do the same. But we got 1 month here of football left where we can win November is what we're going to talk about in our team meetings. How can we win November and be better in November than we've been all year? And take it one game at a time. Looking at Ohio, very good football team, playing very well right now. Some notable players. Their quarterback is the Parker kid is very good, has 1,200 yards passing, 500 yards rushing, a really good dual threat quarterback. Then Anthony Titus, the kid I recruited actually, transferred from Northwestern when I was at Minnesota. I looked at him, really talented player, and he fits in well with what they're doing there. Then we look on the defensive side of the ball. They've got some really good D linemen, starting with Bradley Weaver, a junior who's playing really, really well right now. And then their Mike Shea Taylor has 38 tackles and 5 TFLs and I believe 1 sack and 1 interception, so playing well as well. So really good football team, a lot of players that are contributing. The one thing I'll say about them is they play well together. They're doing a really good job of playing well together and really becoming one. I think at the beginning of the year, they were trying to find their rhythm because they got quite a bit of transfers on their defense, but I think they found it, and now they're playing really, really well. Then when you put that with really good quarterback play, you always have a shot. So good challenge for us, but coming back home, starting action. I know our kids are excited to play on national television, and should be a fun atmosphere and a fun time for them and a chance for us to get better. With that being said, I'll open up for questions.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask again this past weekend, running game, is better. Looked like it got a little bit better, but with that being said, it seems like the passing game, obviously, last couple of weeks it hasn't been. Is there a correlation in there somewhere, with the improvement of the running game that somehow it's affecting the passing game?
That's our task as coaches to figure out because the passing game has taken a step backwards, and we've got to figure out why that is. Right now, as we look at it, it's more execution between the quarterback, receiver, O-line. There's probably not one unit that's got it completely figured out, but we've got to play better. I look at things in 3 facets. Is it a technique issue? Is it a schematical issue? And is it a personnel issue? And I think it's a little bit of everything right now with the passing game. We've got to get better and find ways to put our guys in better situation. It starts with me and then the coaching staff following my lead of getting creative and finding ways to make it go. But we've definitely improved in the run game, and I think that's something our O-line's built to do, honestly. They've gotten better at it, and we put them in better situations. And then we got the ball to Kai a little bit more, which has been great. But we've got to figure the pass game out and find a way to get high percentage passes. And then, quite honestly, we got to play better. We got to play better and execute the call that's made. There is stuff out there, but we've got to throw the ball to where it needs to go, and we've got to run the correct routes at the right depth and play with more detail in that area as well. So it's a little bit of everything, but it's our job as coaches to figure it out and to improve it.
What happened on that long touchdown run in the first quarter for them? It looked like maybe we had a couple guys took a poor angle. How did you see that? And that seemed to really kind of turn the game around.
Yeah, we had we had a D lineman not in his gap. Young D lineman not in his gap. True freshman starting his first game, and he stuck his head back. He was in his gap, then he kind of stuck his head back to make the play, and then the ball came squirting out of his gap. And when you're holding your gaps at every other position, then a guy gets headsy and puts his head in the wrong gap, the ball's going to squirt out. And now you're in a world of hurt when we're playing a single high safety. So that's the whole point of gap defense, is to stay in your gap, and he'll learn, he'll figure it out. And I thought he responded from that play and played better in the second half. But again, he made a true freshman mistake. There's no rhyme or reason from that. I know he was disappointed. He understood right away when he got to the sideline. We showed him on the clip why it's got to be there. But we talk about swarming to the ball, but when you're playing gap defense, which is what we are, single high, die in your gap and force the ball to this guy so he can make the play. You gotta die in your gap, and we didn't do that on that play, and it squirted out. And then we've got to take proper angles there, but it's a little bit harder when you're you're playing your gap that aggressive as we were at every other position.
On the first drive defensively, it looked like we had them stopped to 3 and out, and then a defensive penalty, and our first drive on offense looking really good, until that sack, and then all of a sudden with that long run, it's 14-0. I guess my question is, how hard is it to deal, with that it looks like you're playing relatively well, and you look up and all of a sudden it's 14-0. Is that just something that happens to a team that is struggling? How do you go about trying to deal with that situation?
Yeah, we can't. We got to. I'll keep preaching it till I'm beating them over the head with it until we figure it out. But you got to be disciplined. You got to be disciplined. Yes, you want to play loose, but you got to be disciplined with the simple cellular details of playing football. And we talk about that constantly. We talked about it the night before. We talk about it every week. We show them, and eventually they have to do it. And we've got to coach it better. And I think we are coaching it really, really hard. But then, like I told the team, eventually you have to take the reins and say, this is what we're going to become. And we're still not there yet. And that's what you saw happen on that first drive. We got 10 guys doing the right thing. We get off the field. Then one guy who's on the line of scrimmage, and we're off sides. And now we have to see a play that we should never have to see. And then, that play leads into the same guy making the next mistake. And that's where it's a domino effect. And, that's where defensive football is about trust and togetherness. It's about everybody doing your job and you've heard me say before, you're 1-11. And we were having guys who are a little bit inexperienced, and I'll give them that, but nobody really cares about that. But that's reality that we're living in as a football team with the injuries that we have, who are making some mistakes that are rookie mistakes, and they're hurting the core of our defense. And I would say the same probably, on offense, but a little bit less. I think offensively we come out the gate, and I would say the first drive is coaching to me. It's what have you done? Because you're putting your best stuff out there from a run game standpoint and pass game standpoint. So we're putting you in the best situation of what we know, and they've seen those plays that start to drive off, as many times as possible during the week. So all they have to do is go execute them, and we did that, on offense. And then we come out and we get 2 first downs, I believe, and then all of a sudden we throw the ball on first down, and they come up, they play a little bit different coverage, and our quarterback's got to go through his progression. If we don't do that, then we're now behind the sticks, which is 2nd and 10, and we're not built for that. We just really aren't playing catch up on down and distance. So we've got to do a better job of coaching, obviously, but then we got to do a better job of executing.
Coach, my last one for you, and if you talked about it in the open, I apologize. But OU obviously was pretty impressive against Buffalo over the weekend, and 5-3 overall, 3-1 in the MAC. Just kind of your thoughts on the Bobcats and what it's going to take to try to get a W next Wednesday.
We've got to play disciplined football. You hear me say a lot. We got to play clean. Our youth has got to grow up and keep growing up, and we've got to come out and give it our best shot. They're a very good football team, very talented, very well coached, do a really good job of executing and playing at a high level. And again, when you have a really good defense and then you have a really good quarterback play, you always have a shot. And we're going to have to play clean and just keep improving. The biggest thing for this football team is just to keep improving. Don't worry about anything else, but are you getting better as an individual within what we're asking you to do? And that's what we've got to focus on. That's what we got to do.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach. Coach, it looks like the last couple of weeks we finally have a little continuity amongst that offensive line playing together. How big of an advantage is that for the offense that you're finally it seems like a year and a half, finally had maybe putting the same group of guys out there 2-3 weeks in a row?
Yeah, I think the continuity's been good. I think they played their best game last week, honestly. Our offensive line did. the last 2 weeks, I've been really pleased with the progression of that group. I've always said this, Coach Limegrover is a really experienced veteran O-line coach. I knew with the right amount of time that he would get the right 5 guys on there. And again, it's still a very, very young group, but I think they're starting to build confidence in what we're doing. I think we're putting them in better situations, especially in the run game, and putting them in what they do well. And I think we got to keep building on that, but we've got to just find ways to finish drives up front. And I think that's the biggest thing I talk to those guys about. Okay, you come out, you get a couple of things, and the picture changes a little bit. We're doing a better job of handling it. But we need all 5, not 4 guys doing a better job, all 5. But I'm excited about the growth of our O-line. I think that bodes us well in the future with all those kids coming back besides Cam Golden. And I'm just excited about the growth of that group and how they're playing together right now. And I think when you really study the tape and you watch it, that gets me more aligned with what I want to do with our football team. And I want to run the ball. I want to be pretty balanced on offense, probably a little bit more run than pass, and really play time control ball and be able to extend drives and protect our defense. And we're getting closer to that as a football team. And again, I'm in this for the long haul. I know people want quick fixes, but I'm not about that. I'm about doing it the right way with the resources that we have here at Kent State. And what we have here is the ability to recruit really good high school players, let them come in, develop, and become better over time. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing, especially, and I say that because we're doing that especially in the O-line. And I think those guys are.
Does that continuity with the offensive line help you now with to be able to get the tight end?
One more time. Sorry, cut off there.
Does it help you now to get the tight ends involved in the passing game because you're not having to max protect so often?
Oh, no question. No question. We were able to get the tight ends out and the backs out a little bit more this week, which bodes well for us. You know, you got Cam Golden back, who is obviously one of our better O-linemen the last 2 weeks, which helps. But then moving Garrett Masterson in there to guard and rotating Chris Farrow in there to guard has helped us really build some continuity. And then Dusty now is settled in at right guard, which is good. So he's got a rhythm right now. So there's a lot of really good stuff going on up front with those guys playing well together. And I think that's key. And I think it allows us to do more in our pass game for sure. We're getting some guys out, and getting through some true progressional reads instead of, one-on-one matchups.
Coach, with the zone read, is Tommy giving the ball off a little bit more than he would because we're so thin at quarterback? It feels like in years past, Tommy would maybe keep the ball a little bit more often on that zone read. Is that by design, or is that by the fact that we're down to a couple quarterbacks?
No, that's by design a little bit. They're actually giving it to us more to hand the ball off, honestly, which is good. We haven't ran as much zone read as we did in the past. I've been really trying to get it in Kai's hands and let him do what he does, because I think he does a really good job of keeping you on schedule. We're getting 3 to 4 yards of carry. So I've done stuff that has allowed us to protect the backside edge, so Tommy's not having to read as much, and it's a true give. Because when you put a tight end on the backside of a run play, you typically don't have to read anyone. He's blocking the C-gap defender. So we've done a little bit more of that, which has allowed Tommy now to just give the ball and let our backs do what they do, and then really truly run an RPO system where now, you got a run pass option instead of a run option. But so a little bit by design, if that makes sense, which is, I think, bodes us well because it's getting our true running backs the ball downhill. And I think Curtis is starting to play a little bit better each week. And now that Gavin's been down for the whole year, I think Curtis is starting to see his role and where it fits. And I've challenged the offensive staff of finding ways to get Jose Kimbrough more involved. He's an explosive player. We got to find a way to get him more touches as a redshirt freshman, because he's showing us he can play at this level.
Coach, just one question. Defensively, it looked like we were not able to get pressure on that quarterback. When he got his feet set, it looked like we had coverage early in the secondary, some man coverage, but the longer he stood back there, some things really started to open up for him. This is the first week that we really didn't put some consistent pressure on the quarterback. They were huge up front. Is that a big part of that, or is that by scheme?
We did not. I'll just be honest with you. We did not play well at interior D-line at all. We did not play well enough to affect the game when it came to being in our gaps in the run game and then creating pressure on the quarterback. When they want to chip and take Cam Olds out of it and make it hard for Harm and Stephen Daly to rush off the edges by giving 2. We have one-on-ones inside, and our interior D linemen didn't get home enough, and they got to get better. I think we're starting to see the injuries play a factor there. We're down quite a bit of guys there inside right now, and we're playing some younger guys who've got to learn and get better. That was Jose Cordoba's first big, real, true freshman, real kind of experience of playing. I thought he got better as the game went on, but there's a lot that he can learn from, and he'll be a good player one day. But playing against an experienced O-line, that's probably the best O-line we've seen in the league so far. He made some rookie mistakes that he just got to get better at, and he will. I know he will. He's a hard worker and a talented kid. And then some other guys got to step up. We got to have guys step up. OB's down now. He was a big factor in that, but we've got to step up and get some action out of those guys inside.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Anything else? Coach, you can close it.
Yeah. Again, got to come out, have a good week this week of practice and preparation, and give the Bobcats our best shot. But appreciate the support and coverage, and go Flashes, get grit. Thanks.